Hey everybody, here's part 4 on this thing, the artist entrepreneur collapse posture. I didn't even know there'd be a part 2. Here we are, part 4. But there are a few things that I wanted to add into this understanding or this model. So the trouble with this child, the hurt child, is that first of all, the hurt child cannot market ethically or sustainably. If you're in a collapse or posture reaction, by definition, you're not able to market ethically because you've got this hidden agenda. Number one, this hidden agenda to get the sale, but also the hidden agenda for people to love you or respect you. And so you're coming to the interactions to take. Yeah, you're coming to the interactions to get something. Byron Katie says there's 2 fears that people have. One, the fear we're not going to get what we want, or number 2, the fear that we're going to lose what we have. And if we are governed by those fears, there's nothing ethical there, because we're either in protection or we're in acquisition. And other people either become enemies to us or resources for us to get what we want. And that's not a proper way to relate to people. There's no respect towards people if we're going to be doing that. Also, the child by its nature, Jung talked about the puer aeternus, or the puella aeternus, the ungrounded, the Peter Pan, never landing, never wanting to be limited. And I hear this from so many clients around niching, where there's the sense of, I don't want to be limited. And of course, there are good strategic decisions to make. You don't want to pick a niche that's not going to feel right for you, that's not going to work. But that's different than, I want to resist niching at all. I want to resist any definition at all. I just want to have endless choice, endless possibility. I never want to locate myself anywhere. That's what the child does. The child has a real hard time with no and limit and endings. But the adult has to take that on. Has to take on the fact that there are limits, that if I say yes to this, it means I'm saying no to that. And if I say no to that, it gives me room to say yes to this. I don't have unlimited hours. I don't have unlimited give a shit. I don't have certainly unlimited money. So I have to make some choices. That's the adult's role. And the child doesn't want to make those choices. And so the choices get made for them. Yeah, not just by the parent, but by life, of course. If you refuse to ever make a choice, well, that's your choice. The unwillingness to abide by limits will mean that you outstrip your land base. You eat all the food there is to eat today, and now there's nothing left for tomorrow. You take, and the consequences of that taking don't vanish just because you're still a child. So the solution to this ethical marketing dilemma of how do we market in a way that's ethical but also effective will not be found here. There's no square here that you can occupy where it's going to work. It seems to work on this one with the posturing entrepreneurs. Don't we see the ads, and they seem to be making a lot of money and it's very effective, but you don't see the number of requests for refunds. You don't see the bad reputation they get. And in the short term, this does work, but in the long term, it really doesn't. In the long term, you get a bad name and reputation trumps all your efforts, and you'll burn out eventually because you just have to keep putting fuel onto that fire. So this doesn't work. We certainly know from experience the collapsed artist, which is very familiar to many of you, that doesn't work at all. The other thing I wanted to say is this. Okay, so the solution's not over here. The solution is here in the healed adult, where we're composed, where we're not trying to get people's love or respect, we're giving it. We're the source of love and respect. We're not taking things personally. We are not reactive. We're responsive to the world. We're comfortable in our own skin. We found our niche. We found the place we want to stand. We're willing to be honest about what we see from where we stand. That's our point of view. And instead of going for the sale, we're going for the truth of if it's a fit, because we're not governed by those 2 fears. We're not scared like, I'm going to lose this sale. Jack, you never had that sale. And we're not scared we're going to lose something, but we're also, what are the 2 fears? You're going to lose what you have, or you won't get what you want. That's not a noble orientation. So as an adult, as we're composed, we're just interested in the truth. Is this a fit or not? We're trying to get to that truth quickly. The hurt child in dating wants to avoid the truth at all, costs. Does this feel good right now? It's fun right now, but look back at your dating life, and if you're like me, you'll see there were consequences. Not terrible. It's not wrong. It's not bad. It's just, it doesn't usually end up taking us where we want to be. So the solution's here. But this is one of the main things I wanted to say is, okay, so to remind you, a healthy business is the child of this marriage between the artist and the entrepreneur. Your business is that child between a marriage of a healthy artist, healed adult artist, and a healed adult entrepreneur coming together. And the healing is what brings fertility. Of course, one of the great challenges of fertility in human bodies or in the soil is if the body or the soil is nutrient deficient or it's been poisoned, the fertility is compromised. Yeah. And all this hurt, this thing I talked about in the last video, that really undoes the fertility. So if we don't have that, we have a healthy, fertile mother and father. They come together, this artist and the entrepreneur, and they have a child. And that child, it takes a village to raise a child. So that artist and the entrepreneur cannot do the business alone. This is something I've never said. I've had it in the back of my mind, wondering how to come to it. But there's a lot of other help you'll need. You may need the engineer. Yeah, the engineer is the one who can say, okay, I see all your ideas, artist, beautiful ideas, entrepreneur, I see the need in the marketplace. Here's how we're going to build it in a way that is structurally effective. You may need designers, who know how to take the artistic vision and implement it. You may need some administrative help. The artist and the entrepreneur are not administrators. That's a whole different skill set. So you may need to hire somebody to bring them in for childcare, for your business. You may need people who can also do the sales and the marketing. That's a whole different skill set than just being an entrepreneur. So you understand what I'm saying. To raise the child of your business, it takes a village. And it's one of the tragedies in modern entrepreneurship is this solopreneur thing. This idea that, I can do it on my own. I should be able to do it on my own. And then people feel ashamed, like, why am I struggling to build my business on my own? The clue is in the question. Why am I struggling to build my business on my own? Right? Of course, the on my own doesn't get said. So then the question is usually phrased as, why am I struggling to build my business? There it is. Because it's just you. That's why you're struggling. You're trying to do it alone. And every time I see a single parent, with a child or two, and you can see how frazzled they are and just about to snap. They're not sleeping, they're having conversations with this child all the time. They probably don't have childcare. Maybe their parents aren't around. That's impossible. There's no way to do that and stay sane. There will be a toll on that parent. And modern society utterly lets those parents down. So it takes a lot of help to get a business where it needs to be. But you got to be able to ask for that help. And the hurt child, not so good at asking for help. Especially, if you're posturing. There's no asking for help. You'd have to admit you're vulnerable. You'd have to open up and show some of this, or, that's the fear, that it would just destroy you. But one of the biggest values, qualities that entrepreneurs need to, I think, adopt is humility. And humility feels like it's an ending here, but it's one of the qualities we most need. I can't do everything. I can't be everything to everybody. I'm not good at everything. And so I'm going to ask for help, but asking for help is not an indication that I'm not worthy, which is what the fear is for over here. If I ask for help, I'm just admitting I'm not enough. Let me just spare you the wondering and years of therapy in this. You're not enough. You're just not enough to grow a business by yourself. Period. End of sentence. There's nothing more to say about it. You are not enough. You can't do it. What it takes to raise this child is beyond what you have. You can and might have already burned yourself out trying to raise that child on your own, only to realize you couldn't. So you're going to need help along the way. You may pay for that help. You might get it as favors. You know, when people start a restaurant, they get bridge financing for 3 years to get to because they know they're going to lose money for 3 years. So they got to borrow some money and they pay it back. So in the beginning of a business, you probably get a lot of favors. You get all this help. And then you spend years paying it back, or passing it on. We don't get anywhere without a lot of help. Parents who have kids, I don't have a child, but I've been around enough parents to see how it exhausts them and how grateful they are when somebody shows up and just, hey, can I help out a little bit, even for half an hour here or there? Take the kids for an evening. You two look like you could use a date night. My God, what a relief, as it is for an entrepreneur who's pouring all of their creative energy, maybe not into a child, but into this business. You got to get some help. You need a whole team. You need a whole community of people. Not all full-time. Some just a subcontractor here, a subcontractor there. And it might be free in the beginning. In the beginning, it probably is free. In the beginning, you're probably just getting favors from friends and all that. It's expensive to raise a child. It costs a lot. And the same with the business in those first few years. And to get this child to an age where they can kind of fend for themselves, isn't this a lot of the role of parenting? They get to an age they can survive on their own. And for a business, that's about 3 years old. Yeah, for a human, it's closer to, somewhere in the teens. In modern society, around 18, they better be able to fend for themselves at least. But for a business, like dog years are different than human years. In a business, that's about 3 years. If you handle the fundamentals that I talk about, you do the deeper work, you do the structural work, and you do that kind of hubs, the outreach work. If you really focus on it, and if you do this work, of working at healing and being the composed adult, in about 3 years, you can expect to have a very solid, profitable business. All things being equal, and it starts with a deeper work around niching, point of view, and ethics. Those three. It just takes the time it's going to take. Don't expect to rush it. Sometimes it happens faster. People pick a really good niche and the market is just ready for it. But I would expect about 3 years from the point at which you really start consciously handling the fundamentals. From the point at which you stop playing around here and you start moving into here. Of course, this isn't a binary. It's not like you're either an unhealed, hurt child or you're the healed adult. It's not like that. It's going to be a bit of a movement, from one side to the other. But the further you get to this side, from this domain to this domain, and the more you focus on the fundamentals, the faster it's going to go, in my experience. But you can't do it alone, and you can't do it over here. If you're trying to do it alone, and for most of you, let me just tie it all together here. Most of you, in my experience, from traveling around and meeting a lot of you in person, are here, the collapsed artist. I was saying the other day, I was saying a little different, in posturing, we're trying to cover up the hole, and in collapsing, we have just collapsed into this hole entirely. But if you're the collapsed artist, and you're trying to do it alone, retire now. Stop. It's over. I can already tell you what the ending is going to be. And it's going to be you're broke and burned out. That's where it's headed. If you stay here and try to do it alone, this is everyone going to be disappointed. And you're going to be disappointed. And there's going to be drama everywhere. That's where this goes. just going to get a marker because I want to just visually put this together for you. The solo collapsed artist. This has to stop if you're going to make it work. And what you need is a marriage between the artist and the entrepreneur, plus community. This will not work. There is no plan to make this work. There's no course you can take, no series of workshops you can go to, no coaching you can get, no plan, no formula, no 7-step process that will make this work. This can work. There's no guarantees in life. Nothing's promised. You could do all of this and it still doesn't work out. But if you do all of this, there's a chance it'll work, a very good chance it'll work. And if you stay here, there is 0% chance that it will work. So there you go. Those were, I think, some of the last thoughts. Maybe it'll be a part 5, I don't know. But those were the main things I wanted to say this time. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've been enjoying this series. I've been thrilled putting this up and putting this together. Thank you so much. Hey. All right. Button's not working. Take care, everybody.